Here we have a 1973 Range Rover, 3-door. I think the prettiest 4x4 has ever made, with proper door handles, not off a Marina. This is probably the best dual purpose vehicle I ever had. This model at 1973, it was fitted with fitted rubber carpets, rubber mats, not carpets but fitted rubber mats. The kids used to go inside with the dirty wellies, get everything dirty. In the evening, go out to the restaurant. I used to open the door, hose pipe on low, and swill the rubber mats out, quick clean out, and you'd go out. It's coming on eBay. It's in need of a total restoration. We'll just walk around to see what needs doing and what will live again. As you can see, this quarter panel will live again. She looks okay. The little grilly things out here, I believe, are in the back. The lights around will live again. Back door as expected, US. So is the top tailgate. Can't see any dents in the roof. This often happens with people strapping furniture on, or the old type of roof rack which had the pads that would sit down and strap to the thingy. Used to leave dents. I think it looks, what I can see, fairly through. This light surround looks like it'll live again. This quarter panel, not as good as the other one, but it had these marks in 15 years ago, and when I took it off the road, and they haven't got any worse. What I was going to do, if I'd had time to restore it, was take the quarter panel off, wire brush it up on the back, cut another piece of alloy out, and silicone the other piece of alloy on the back. And then if this is perforated through, when you prep it and paint it and respray it, this side you'll get no moisture coming from the side, and it would I think be fine forever. And I'd rather try and keep the panel original to the vehicle than another one. Outer door skins look okay. This door does drop, but it's actually the loose hinge at the bottom. The bolts are loose. This door post is fine. I put a new one in here. I think it was the last year I had it on the road. If you look very carefully, you might be able to see where my weld is across there and down there when it joined on, if you look very carefully. The floor, I have given it a thump, but it looks quite rusty. But being flat, it's relatively easy welding repair. I don't know, I've got night mode on this. I'll switch it on anyway. Things might go a bit black and white. Have a look under it. Switch night mode on. Right. Yeah, as you can see, this, I think I remember when I did the door post. This was I made this sill, folded it from where I worked, and that was galvanised. This looks under here, so it would live. That looks quite good actually. Under the floor looks good. Chassis at this end all looks good. Looks a little bit dry in places now, but it did get a serious oiling. I can still see around the holes. You can see a little like a wet bit from the oil. Yeah, it's still oily on the inside, so the chassis is probably quite good. As I look further up here, it's not had any welding or anything at all previously. That looks fairly good. We'll get back to the cross member when we get to the side. The bump stop there looks, let's me look where we're looking, it looks a little bit average. whether the chassis is fine, which I'll say it probably is. I think it's just the bump stop, the back into the bump stop's rusted away. But what I had a quick look earlier, that looked only the only suspect bit on the chassis. Right. Got a bit. Further. Scuttle top, probably live again, but I think I've got a spare one of these which will be with it. Bonnet, I think structurally there, but it might be easy to get another one, as these were, and the same for the wings. This inner wing here, am I still on night mode? Switch off. I actually made, I made all the individual plates faithful to the original ones. Punched them and spot welded it together, and actually made it out of galvanised sheeting. That's why, and I made it 16 years ago, and as you can see, that's all fine. Bulkhead at the top of it's fine. The mounting there, look, round the bulkhead is fine. Battery box is fine. The front, a lot of surface rust, but I think actually fine, it'll all live again. The mount, and it looks all good round that mount. Surface rust again, but looks okay. The only bit I did find is at the back, behind the mount, there's a little bit of work to do there, but actually very little. I think all this would live again. The inner wings have had it here, but as you know, these are the bolt-on ones, the early bolt-on ones. Right, also we didn't look, so we don't miss any going around the vehicle. Back into night mode. The bulkhead, the front of the footwell here, and the bulkhead look is all good, as is good in there. That's all good because that's all was all galvanised. You see, when I made the original, all looks good in there. Right, so we've got this far round. Right, now this side is where things not get so good. The wing, you're going to want to find some, but okay, door outer skin looks fine. Now there's a fair bit of work. Bottom of the door post and the inner footwells, well here. This is what actually the other side was like years ago. The back of that door looks a bit rotten. That's where it's double skinned. Inside the door looks okay. Bottom of the door will live again. Back into night mode. Right. Still, zoomed all the way out. Still looking, there's a hole there. It actually does want doing, but it's generally the floor and the inner sill isn't a big rotten mess. But there is I can see a thin bit here. Chassis, as I said before, is pretty good. Pretty good. Now, back to the bottom of the bulkhead here. I think there's a bit to do here. Basically, this corner. Oh, there's a bit, look. But the inner wing bolts off. I don't know if you used to be able to buy them. I used to be about 89 quid, I think, from Paddocks. Whether they still are, I don't know. Yeah, a little bit of work to do. It's basically on this corner around the doorpost, but it's not an impossibility. Let's have a look under here. Looks a bit there on seat belt mounting. Now, unfortunately, the back door's catch is seized up, so I can't get in the back. You can Interior looks like some damage on the seats. Floor. I think when you get, I think it does want doing the floor this side. When you get, if you got hammer and chisel in here, it would probably want doing. Yes, this one's doing here. I can see. Yeah, the floor there wants doing. So that's only to be expected, actually. But for coming on a 40-year-old vehicle, I don't think we're too bad. Right, so that's where we are. Chassis is probably extremely good. The front will live again. Looks like the quarter panels will live again. The roof will live again. The far sills will live again. And door posts. So we've got some work probably on this sill, bottom of the door post and surrounding bit, inner wings. I'll tell you a bit about the engine. The engine unfortunately is not the original. The original engine actually was cooked. This has got 90,000 on the clock, which although I don't think I can find the history, so please bid as though there's no history. But it's a genuine 90,000 miles, and the engine has done 30,000 less than the indicated. It's from, I'm trying to think, it'll come to me. It was from a few years new. I think it was from about an 82. In 82 or 3, and it was from whenever the last of the two doors. It came out of a two-door, and it was more or less about the last year they were made. That's, I believe, the engine. The engine is a very good runner. There's probably a separate little video I'm going to put on YouTube, which was a 10-year startup, and it actually struck up instantly. Ran on the bit of petrol I chucked down the carb, stopped 2 seconds later, and it actually didn't run then. It was the fuel pump was not working. So we're still on night view, yeah. So there we have it. It stands actually fairly well. The springs were fitted just before it came off the road and are still black and shiny now. They weren't a heavy duty kit that people tend to kit. I actually chose the spring rates. The front ones, the front springs I think actually are early Range Rover rears, which when put on the front gives it a 2-inch lift, and the back ones I can't remember, but they're still black and shiny, and I personally would live again. So there you have it. It needs work in the passenger side far left back corner. Well, probably reality the back floor needs doing, you could say. Far sills live again. Driver side sill, driver side door post live again. Bodywork quite undinted, as you can see. I think rear quarters will live again. Doors probably will, and yeah, front panel, although a lot of surface rust, actually hasn't got impending rust holes or anything like that. Personally, I'd unbolt it and just shot blast it all and respray it again. New inner wing. Engine, except, well, I can't, with it being only downpipes on, I can't tell how quiet it runs, but it did run very quiet. The carbs I overhauled before it came off the road, but I would recommend again. That's all I can say. Vehicle's done 90,000. Engine's done 60. Can't really give it a drive around. The clutch pedal goes to the floor, so I'd have to start it in gear. Electrics, the last few weeks on the road, it lost start position, or if it didn't lose start position, and I think I very quickly put a button in it, cable tied to something, and a wire from the battery, in fact that's what I've been starting with today, to the starter. So that probably wants addressing, but apart from that, I don't think they're the original mirrors. I've got a feeling they're SD1 mirrors. They're adjustable from the inside. Do want another look at the interior at the dash. Looks if you want a new one of these, I had it taped on, or a new back. Dash all looks intact. Clocks all used to work. Oh, there we are. I'm accidentally there. The gearbox, when it was on the road, there was no knocks, rattles or anything from any of the transmission when it was on the road. Also this one, manual power steering, I think actually this is an SD1 steering wheel, which is missing its cover, unless it's in here. This steering was actually unusually light for manual steering. If you were rolling, no matter how slow, if you're rolling, you could palm the steering wheel round. You could palm it round. It was lovely steering, and actually drove very well. The engine was quite economical. Most Range Rover owners don't believe me, but with a pair of K&N air filters and a straight through sports system, with the engine set up very, very well, I used to get 20 to the gallon jobbing about. The ex-wife used to get 18, 19. She went slower around the corners than I did, and I used to get 23 in a run, and the engine was very, very torquey. My party trick was, I'd have my trailer on the back with 2 tons on my trailer. I used to leave it in top gear, take my foot complete off the throttle, drop to a tick over, put my foot on the brake, slow it below tick over until the ignition light come on, and then I used to give it 16-inch throttle. This was coming in our local village, which was slightly uphill. 16th throttle, and gradually pull away. And as I pulled away, you could give it a little bit more throttle. Obviously, if you put your foot down, it'd kangaroo. But that was my party trick in this vehicle. So headlight surrounds, looking very good. Grille, I don't quite know what's happened to that. But I think I've seen one kicking around. But big though. There's not one in there. I think we've covered everything. If there's anything I haven't covered, no problem with coming and viewing it or anything. I do have, although there's only 3 Rostyles on it, I know I actually have the 4th. This one's got that. I do have the 4th, and I know I do, and I'm pretty sure actually there is 5 with it. So yeah, I think that's it. Back under the Rangey. I forgot to show you the body cross member. There's a mountain. That's all look good. That actually looks swollen, but both metals feel good. That might be okay. I'll poke it down there, see what you can see. I think it looks okay. I think the tank actually may have a little bit of a, yeah, I think that may leak a bit. Body mount there looks okay. Again, that's swollen a bit there, but both sides feel thick. I think that, I'll poke camcorder up there, I don't know what you're seeing. Probably looks like it might just